So we'll start with about 30 minutes of low body focus. If you have blocks, these are handy. If you have a band or a strap of some kind, you could even use like a belt or like a long thin towel. If you have a small blanket, these can all come in handy. As you can see, I don't even have a yoga mat set up behind me. Most of this stuff you can do on any clean surface. Throw down a towel, a blanket. Yoga mats are great, but the idea is that you can get some movement in without anything at all. So let's get started. Per usual, I like to begin on my back. So I'm going to lie flat with my knees bent. And then I'll relax my arms by my sides with my palms facing up so I can walk each shoulder one at a time, right shoulder, left shoulder, flat onto the ground. And then my feet are planted a little bit wide apart. And I'll close my eyes for a moment or two. Sometimes I'll bring one hand to my navel, and that way I can ensure that I'm breathing proper diaphragmatic breaths. For most people, most of the time, ideal breath is in through your nose, out through your nose. Mouth closed, deep breath, breathing into your belly, let it rise and fall with each inhale and each exhale. So like this for a minute or more if you'd like. And whenever you're ready, you'll start to move. Rock your knees side to side. So big breath in. Exhale, knees go to one side. Inhale, they come back to the center. Exhale over to the other side. You can continue like this as many times as feels good. It should feel like a massage with your low back or in your low back against the ground. So a few times side to side, again, in sync with your breath. And then knees come back to the center. Another deep breath in. I'll stretch one leg long and then the other. I like to move my ankles around. So I'll circle. If you can't see, it's here. I'm circling around one way and then the other. And then I'll even flex and point my feet. And then I'll hug my right knee in. In this position, I can hug my knee in and feel a stretch. I can also press my shin into my hands and feel more strength. I might want to even lift my left leg an inch or two off the ground. That'll challenge more through my abdominals. And then I can even lift my head and bring my nose toward my knee. A few breaths here. And then I'll lay back, extend my right leg all the way up to the sky. So I'll go slow and gentle, never forcing. So we're going for stretch, not strain. I can grab my hands maybe behind my leg or even use a strap or a towel to help support. And here again, I can pull my leg in toward me, or I can press my leg into my hands. And if I do that, I might even lift my left leg again an inch or two off the ground so I can cultivate strength through my core, through my right leg, my glute, my left leg, everything integrated. Or I can just relax back and stretch. A few rounds of breath in whichever position you so choose, and then bend your right knee. Take a deep breath in. Exhale to cross over. So you'll roll onto your left side. And then I'll sometimes walk my shoulders, my upper body over to the left, and then I can turn my head to the right. So you're very familiar with this stretch. And again, here, take 5, 6 rounds of breath, whatever number you choose. Take the same number of breaths on the other side. So here, and then I'll roll back onto my back, bend both knees, plant my feet, reset my shoulders. I'll note the difference from my right hip to my left, and then I might again rock my knees side to side. Second side, I'll show from a different angle. So I'm stretching both legs long. I'll move my feet and ankles around. I'll flex and point. I'll try to even spread my toes, and then deep breath in. Exhale, I'll hug my left knee in. And I'll choose to press my shin into my hands, lift my shoulders, take a few breaths here. 3, 2, and then I'll lie back. Inhale, extend that leg up toward the sky. Again, I'm spreading the toes on my left foot, and then I might lift my shoulders, press my leg into my hands, lift my right leg an inch or two, elbows wide, lifting my chest toward the sky. 3, 2, I'll lay back, bend my knee, take a deep breath in, and then exhale to cross over. I'll turn my head to the opposite side. And again, you'll slow these motions down. You will connect each one of them with your breath. You'll take your time. Again, as many rounds of breath as you cycled through on the other leg, you would do here, and then roll back onto your back, bend your knees, plant your feet, reset your hips. Good. And from here, a few times I'll keep my hips down, but I'll inhale to lift my low back off of the ground. So I could slip my hand underneath between my low back and the ground. And then I'll exhale to really flatten my low back to the mat or to the floor. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Again, as many or as few rounds as feels good like that. A few times. And then I'll stretch both legs long again. I'll stretch both arms up by my ears, and then I can hug both knees in and grab both of my shins. I like to widen my knees apart and then flex my feet and rock left and right, again, so it feels like I'm massaging my low back on the ground. Deep breath. And then I can close my knees like a book and straighten them both all the way up toward the sky. I'm going to look at my feet and imagine if the soles of my feet were standing on the sky, I'd want them flat. So I'm pressing more through the inner edges of my feet, paying a lot of attention to the way that my ankles and even like making my feet symmetrical and even from side to side. So I'm pulling my belly in and down toward the ground. I'm straightening my legs as much as I comfortably can. And then I'm tightening all the muscles through my legs. I'm spreading my 10 toes and generating lots of muscle energy. Again, this is another movement that can be passive and relaxed, or strong and full of muscle energy. I might even lift my shoulders again. I might bring my hands to the backs of my legs. And from here, I'll roll forward and back. And then I'll lower my feet and open my knees out like butterfly stretch. So if I had cushions or blankets or bolsters or blocks, I could place those underneath my legs to support them. I tend to be hypermobile, so don't feel that I need them to be comfortable in this position. But if you did have, you would place right under here. Once I make myself comfortable, I'm going to again bring my attention to the soles of my feet. I want to press them together evenly. I want to feel as if my knees are opening to the same degree, side to side. I'm going to again pull my belly in and down toward the ground, and that kind of encourages my knees to close a little bit. And I might even do a few repetitions there. I'll inhale and lift my low back off of the ground. Exhale, flatten it. My knees will naturally want to close a bit. A few repetitions there, as many as you'd like. And then I'll close both knees like a book. And then I can roll over to my left side. I'll bend both knees actually, and come into a thigh stretch. So important here, I'm lining up my whole body. So I'm even gonna bring my arm back underneath my ear in one straight long line. And then when I reach my hand toward the outer edge of my foot, again, I could use a strap and strap up. Once I've got my foot or my ankle or my shin, I'm going to close my knees and then I'm going to pull in a lot through my belly. So I'm still leaning my head back into my hand, or to my arm rather. And then I'll take a few breaths here, maybe that same number of repetitions of breath in and out as I did on the other side. From here, I like to roll back over and come into what's known as happy baby or a half happy baby. So my left knee is bent. I'm reaching my hand again toward the outer edge of my right foot, but now my arm is inside of my leg. So I can imagine I'm opening my right knee down toward the ground and the sole of my foot might be facing toward the sky. So I'll spin around. You know this position. Again, I take a few breaths here. 3, 2, and then I'll release and straighten both legs out again. Get strong through my abdominals, flattening my low back to the ground, and then I'll slide my opposite arm up by my ear, bend both knees, roll over, and grab the outer edge of my second leg. Head back, belly in, knees are closed. Find that same number of repetitions of breath here. I'll roll back onto my back again like a half happy baby. My arm will come inside now. Both knees are bent. My left foot is facing the sky. I'll breathe here in and out. And then I'll release that foot, straighten both legs. One more time, I'm going to stretch my arms up by my ears, hug both of my knees in. This time I'll rock forward and back. And then I'll come up and over and into all fours. So quadruped position, very important, as you know. Keep your head and neck lifted. So I have this stick handy. If I had a stick, even a broom handle, you can unscrew it. Just remember to put it back and maybe even sweep the floor later. I'm leaning my head back. The stick is touching right at the top of my tailbone, and then the middle back of my head. So I'm keeping a tall spine. This I will keep, and this goes for overhead. We'll talk about this in the upper body video, but this goes for overhead press, and this same goes here too, even in quadruped position. So if I imagine I'm nice and tall, long spine, engaged here, I'm going to reach my arms forward, and then I just come down. Notice that my gaze is about 1.5 feet, maybe even 2 feet in front of me, so that the back of my throat is lifting toward the sky. So again, from here to here, so facing forward, I can plant my hands. If it feels uncomfortable, I can come up onto knuckles. I can also lower down onto forearms, which will actually make it a bit more challenging in my hips, but just showing from all fours. And if it feels like you want to strengthen your hands and doesn't cause any strain or pain, you can always work coming onto fingertips. Whatever position you choose, long spine, I'm pulling my belly up and away from the ground, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not locking out my elbows. So when I bend a little bit, I'm using my muscles rather than bone on bone or joint on joint. So elbows are slightly bent. I'm pressing evenly through both hands. And now I'm going to bring my knees together. Again, long spine. I'll start to circle my right knee out to the side like fire hydrant kicks. And here, you know this position. Deep breath. I'm going to circle around a few times in one way and then in the other. My foot is flexed because I feel that I feel a little more stretch in my hamstring when I do that. So I've circled around both ways, and then I'll hug my knee in just like I did on my back, and I'll straighten that leg all the way back behind. If I were looking back behind me, I'd see that my toes are pointing straight down toward the ground. So I'm not hiking my hip up. It's nice and straight. Then I'll open. So I'm twisting from my mid back, and then I'll bend my knee. If you see that facing forward, you'll notice, so straight back, hips open, then my knee bends. You'll notice that my shoulders stay square toward you, toward the front of the room. Couple breaths, and then I might even bring my right knee to my right shoulder. Oof, it's a lot. Belly up and away from the ground. If I want to go even further, I might try to straighten that leg out to the side, then I'll lower it down, widen my knees, come down onto my forearms, and slow down my breath. I'm going to gently rock and press my hips back toward my heels, forward and back a few times again. You can slow this down. Ideally, you're able to do this slowly, stringing each movement together. So I'm just going to repeat the same motion, same pattern, same asana or position. I'll come back up onto my palms, bring my knees together. I'm going to lengthen my spine. I'm going to lift my belly up and away from the ground, and then I'm going to lift the back of my throat toward the sky and look in front. Deep breath, and then I can circle my left knee around both ways. And then I'll hug that knee in, rounding my spine. I'll straighten that leg all the way back. Then I'll open my hips. Then I'll bend my knee. Shoulders are squaring up. I'm pulling my belly up and away from the ground. And then I breathe. I can soften my face, my jaw, breathing in and out through my nose. Knee to shoulder, maybe all the way to straight. And then lower down. Give your wrists a break. If you were on your palms, you can even circle around. And again, hips press back toward heels a few times. I like to press my palms together and bring my hands toward the back of my head. I feel a stretch through my triceps there. Hips to heels as far as you comfortably can. If this causes any strain or pain in your knees, you can roll up that same towel or blanket and place it underneath or behind or both. And I'm going to come up onto my knees. Again, I'm going to throw this blanket underneath my knees just because I've had ACL replacement and or ACL surgery, and it's more supportive. You choose whatever you need. You could be on a stack of towels or blankets, and honestly, that would provide a little bit of instability, which can help to strengthen your core. You pick the position you'd like, pick the props, use what you have where you are. From here, very familiar sequence as well. I'm going to always focus on my core. That's part of or central to each of my movements. So in this position, from the side, you can see I like to tuck my toes just to get a stretch through the bottoms of my feet. If I wanted to, and that will stretch also in back of the back of your ankles, so like Achilles, bottom of your feet. For most athletes, this is preferred to me, more ideal. But should you need to give your Achilles a rest or maybe stretch the front of your ankle, you can untuck toes. So again, totally up to you, but I find for most people benefit from more foot function and movement and flexion, especially of the toes. So here, pulling my belly in, I'm in that same tall spine with my throat back and my head high. So just as I did when I came down into quadruped. So here, I'm going to step my right leg all the way out. And my heel is in line with my opposite knee. My toes are facing straight ahead. Slide over so you can see. So here I am, Toes pointing straight ahead, belly in. I'll extend my left arm all the way up. Inhale. Exhale. I'll lean over. Inhale, I'll come up. I'll plant my left hand, reach my right arm up by my ear, and then a breath, I'll come back up, and then I'll bend my knee to 90 degrees. Again, my heel is in line with my opposite knee. My hand is coming to the inside of my thigh so I can turn my shoulders to face forward. Again, I'll pull my abdominals in. I'm going to even lift my toes to make sure I'm pressing through my whole foot. And then I'll inhale, get taller. Exhale to bend. Inhale up. Exhale again. You can do this as many rounds as you like. After a few, you'll come up and walk your foot in. So I like to go to maybe like 1 or 2 o'clock, and then I like to lower my hands onto fingertips. You can do palms, knuckles, use blocks or any other prop to bring yourself up higher. Whatever position you're in, take a breath, and then gently open your knee out to the side. There are so many variations from here. I find that simple is usually effective, especially when done mindfully, slowly, with intention, paying attention to the nuances in your body instead of pushing and forcing and straining. From here, I'll come up and walk my right foot straight ahead. So again, if I have blocks, especially because I'm tall and I know that I want to keep a long spine, I'm going to come in, set myself up for a low lunge. Same idea. So if I wanted to tuck my back toes, I could do that. I could also untuck. My ankle, knee, and hip are all in one line. And then I can bring my blocks right underneath my shoulders. I'm really tall, so I like to bring them to the highest setting. So sometimes I'll take a few breaths here, maybe even with my hands to my front thigh. And then if that feels steady, maybe I'll lift my arms all the way up. If I want to get a stretch through my upper body as well, I can pull my belly in, bend a few times, and then I like to lower my arms and clasp my hands behind my back. As we are focusing on low body, of course, we want your core, torso, and even the entirety of your body, upper body as well, to be involved. So from here, I'm going to release my hands. My back toes are tucked. I'm going to lift my back knee. So I'm in now a runner's lunge. If I wanted to twist, I'd inhale to open my right arm up. Exhale to lower it down. Then I can lower my back knee and least favorite, half split. Oof. I'm still going to have my hip, knee, and ankle in one straight line. And then I really like to use this opportunity, especially because I dislike this stretch quite a bit. I'll bring my butt blocks down to a lower setting. Again, I've got everything lined up. And then because I hyperextend, I'm going to bend my knee a little bit. And I actually feel that more in the belly of my hamstring. I might have to slide my foot forward or my back knee back. I might have to adjust my blocks. Once I get to a point where I feel stretch, not strain, stretch, I'm going to pause and know that I just have to breathe. Flexibility is a product of patience. And so people will ask, like, how long should I hold a position? Well, as long as you comfortably can, which isn't to say like don't ever be uncomfortable, but know the difference, like how to just walk right up to the edge of a position, going for stretch, but never strain. From here, I'll slowly come up. I like to come into 90-90. I like this more than a pigeon stretch that's really common because I have had knee injuries. I find it helpful to come into 90-90. So from here, I'm going to bring my right knee forward. It's straight forward. And then my shin, my leg is like in an L shape for 90 degrees. And then I'm going to really engage through my front foot. That foot flexion will help to protect my knee. If I have a cushion or a blanket or a block, I could even prop my knee up because it feels more supportive, especially if, like me, you've had any surgeries. From there, my hands are going to be on fingertips. I'll twist to face forward. I already feel that a lot in my back hip. I'm going to inhale to come higher, exhale to come forward. I might be able to lower down into forearms. I could use blocks, whatever you got. I'll take a few breaths here, and then I'll walk over to my right side. This is really deepening the stretch and twist, and I'll deepen my breath as well. On an inhale, I'll come back to the center, and then I'll swing my legs back behind me and come into one pike stretch. So I'm lifting my hips up and back to the sky. I want ideally an upside down V shape in my body. So seeing that from the side would look like this. Again, I'm keeping a tall spine. I'm going to come forward, plant my hands right beneath my shoulders. I'm going to step one leg back. I'm going to step my other leg back. And then my hips lift up and back to the sky. Notice my head and neck come with me. They stay in position. I'm going to drop my chest down until my ears are right about alongside my arms. And then I'll bend my knees as much as I need so I can get this in my low back, not this rounding. I can bend my knees like even halfway to the mat or to the ground, tailbone up to the sky. Then I'll start to straighten my legs and work them straighter until, again, I feel stretch, but not strain. So facing forward, it would look something like this. You're familiar. You can bend one knee and then the other. Take a few deep breaths. And then drop your knees down. Give your wrists a stretch here, one at a time. You can flip your palms up, fingers toward you. And then you'll come into the same position and second side. I'll come back up onto my knees, step my left leg out, reach my right arm up, and go through the same motions here. Again, as long as you comfortably can, maybe 3-4 breaths in each position. I'll inhale to come up, exhale to plant my hand and stretch and reach over to the other side. And then I'll inhale to come up, bend my knee, turn my shoulders to face forward. Exhale, 3, 2, and 1. I'll walk my left foot toward 10 or 11 o'clock. I'll gently open my knee out to the side a few times. And then I'll walk that foot straight ahead. I'll come into the same position. If I use props, I'll grab them again. Again, I'll go slowly. A few breaths in each position. My runner's lunge, nice and long spine. I'll peel my left arm open and then exhale to lower it down, lower my back knee, come into my half split. I'll take as many or as few breaths. Again, flexibility is a product of patience, so I just have to wait and breathe. And whenever I'm ready, I'll slide that leg back and support myself as I come down into the same 90-90 position. Both feet are flexed, both legs are at 90 degrees in an L shape. I'll get nice and tall, and then I'll come forward. A few breaths here, and then I'll walk over to my left. A few breaths here, and then I'll come back to the center. If I have a block, I'll grab it and take a position that feels good. A block to the low back feels amazing. If you have a couch, chair, or wall nearby and you can throw your legs up the wall, you can do this with or without the block. It should feel comfortable. If you feel discomfort in any position, disregard it. And again, you'll just assume whatever position feels best. And take a few deep breaths. Resting here. Again, legs can be up a wall or over the side of a couch. Legs higher than your heart is one of the most restorative and best possible positions that you can take for recovery. And that can be done again as long as you like, as long as you comfortably can.